Today, my seniors, in California, I extend an invitation to you to set out on a path to inner calm. We frequently seek out outside approval in the hopes of finding serenity, but we overlook negativity is a ubiquitous force that can subtly infiltrate our lives and disturb our inner peace. It often starts with a single thought of minor irritation or a brief frustration, but can quickly snowball into a mindset that colors our entire view of the world. To live peacefully, one of the most important first steps is to change our own behaviors. In order to truly laugh peacefully, there are 8 things we must all stop doing. When we allow negative ideas to take hold, we start to see the world through a skewed prism. Negativity does more than just impact our mood, it also molds our perspective. A poor workday can make you think that nothing ever goes right. An argument with a friend may lead us to believe that we are unworthy of love and support. The issue is that these beliefs are frequently overblown or just wrong, us to interrupt this cycle of negative thinking. But how do we do it? It begins with acknowledging that negativity is a fleeting emotion rather than a permanent reality. On them, they gather power, develop, and have an impact on how we respond to everything around us. It's important to realize that negativity can originate from both internal and external sources. When we find ourselves in a negative thought pattern, we should pause and ask ourselves, is this true, or am I letting my emotions get the better of me? Most of the time, we'll discover that our negativity is caused by a temporary circumstance rather than an unchangeable fact. Externally, news and social media are all around us and continuously draw attention to the issues facing the world. While it's crucial to keep informed about disasters, conflicts, and economic hardships, focusing too much on bad news can make us feel overwhelmed and even despairing on the inside. We can turn into our own worst enemies by berating ourselves, dwelling on our errors, and obsessing on what we lack for overcoming negativity. It may seem simple, but reflecting on our current circumstances can have a significant impact on our mental and emotional health. Every day, we have reasons to be thankful for the people in our lives, the opportunities we've been given, and even the little pleasures that are frequently overlooked. By reminding us that despite the difficulties, there is still good in the world and in our lives. Gratitude helps us change our focus from what is lacking to what is present. Mindfulness is another crucial technique for conquering negativity. By practicing mindfulness and concentrating on what's happening here and now, we can keep our thoughts grounded. This can be achieved by taking a few deep breaths, going for a walk, or just focusing on the present. Negative thoughts frequently arise when we're either dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. For example, we may regret something we said in an argument, or be worried about us. Although there will always be challenges in life, mindfulness can help us stop the negative thought pattern and return to a state of peace. Negativity frequently results from very serious issues, relationship problems, health issues, and financial difficulties. Living peacefully does not entail ignoring these difficulties. Rather, it entails learning how to deal with them without allowing them to control us. When faced with hardship, we can switch our perspective from wondering why it is happening to us to asking ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? This can turn a bad circumstance into a chance for personal growth. Setting boundaries, both with others and with ourselves, is another important strategy for reducing negativity. We must restrict the amount of time we spend interacting with negativity, whether that means shutting off the news, leaving a poisonous conversation, or even taking a vacation into our lives. If certain individuals constantly bring negativity into our space, we have the right to distance ourselves. This isn't about cutting people off unnecessarily, but about protecting our mental and emotional health. Surrounding ourselves with positive influences can help create an environment that fosters peace and well-being. It's important to remember that stopping negativity is a process. It's not something we can achieve overnight, and it's not something we'll ever perfect completely. There will always be moments when negativity sneaks in. The goal isn't to eliminate it entirely. After all, it's a natural human emotion, but to recognize it, challenge it, and prevent it from taking over. When we can do that, we begin to reclaim our peace. Peace isn't about avoiding difficulties, it's about how we navigate through them. By stopping negativity in its tracks, we free ourselves to live more fully, more joyfully, and more peacefully. It's an IOU's choice we must make every day, but it's a choice that leads us toward a life filled with more life. Comparing ourselves to others constantly is one of the most harmful habits we can form. In today's hyper-connected world where social media allows us to see the highlights of other people's lives, it has become almost instinctive to measure our own worth against what we see. We scroll through posts of people who appear to be living their best lives, successful careers, luxurious vacations, and ideal families, and we begin to feel inadequate. However, comparison is a trap that not only robs us of peace, but also distorts our sense of self-worth, because we are acting under the false assumption that everyone has the same circumstances. What we see on the surface, particularly on social media, is frequently a carefully manicured picture of a person's life. They hardly ever discuss their difficulties, failures, or insecurities, which are just as much a part of the unfinished image. We wind up basing our entire existence on the accomplishments of others. When you see someone your age who appears to be doing better than you, it can make your own accomplishments seem insignificant. You may be content with your home until you see someone else's larger, more expensive one. But the issue isn't with your job or your home. Rather, it's with the mindset that what others have somehow diminished is what you have. This comparison habit can make us feel unhappy with our own lives, regardless of how good they may actually be. You may be making progress in your career. One of the most harmful effects of comparison is that it can lead to jealousy and resentment. When we see others succeeding in areas where we feel we're falling short, it's easy to become jealous, and instead of feeling happy for them, we start to feel resentful. Should be our sources of inspiration and support may end up becoming the very people we compare ourselves to, creating needless tension and distance. This resentment doesn't hurt the other person who hurts us. Instead, it festers and grows, leaving little room for joy or contentment. Understanding that everyone's path is unique and that there is no universal timetable for success or pleasure is the remedy for this harmful habit. Focusing on personal growth rather than comparison allows us to celebrate the accomplishments of others without feeling threatened or diminished when we shift our focus. What may take one person a few years to achieve may take another 10, and that's perfectly okay. The key is to stop measuring your life against others and start focusing on your unique progress. Ask yourself, are you better than you were yesterday? Have you grown, learned, or improved in any way? If the answer is yes, that's all that matters. Adopting this mindset, we break free from the destructive cycle of envy and become more receptive to learning from others' experiences. We start to realize that someone else's success does not diminish our own potential. On the contrary, it can be motivating. Rather than viewing others as rivals, we can view them as examples of how hard work and perseverance can lead to success. Another effective strategy to counter comparison is appreciation. When you catch yourself comparing your life to someone else's, take a moment to think about what you have to be thankful for. It could be something big, like getting promoted at work, or something small, like having a peaceful morning with coffee. By focusing on what you have instead of what you lack, you can remind yourself that your life is full in its own unique way. Gratitude keeps you rooted in the here and now and allows you to enjoy your path with all of its highs and lows. It's also critical to be aware of the situations and forces that encourage positive aspects of people's lives. Media, for example, is a breeding ground for comparison. If you find that scrolling through these platforms makes you feel inadequate or unhappy, it might be time to take a break, limit your exposure to things that make you feel less than, and instead surround yourself with people and activities that inspire and uplift you. Self-compassion and realize that it's acceptable to not be where you expected to be at this stage of your life. Since everyone's schedule is different and there's no rush or race to the finish line, real life exists outside of screens, and that's where true fulfillment lies. The aim is to live a peaceful life by being satisfied with who you are and where you are in life. When you stop comparing yourself to other people, you give yourself the freedom to develop at your own pace and to value your individuality. Be kind to yourself and trust that you are exactly where you need to be right now. You are doing your best with the resources and knowledge you have. And that's a common problem that many people encounter, especially in today's fast-paced, productivity-driven culture, where we are frequently conditioned to believe that the more we do, the more valuable we are. However, by concentrating on your own progress, practicing gratitude, and cultivating self-compassion, you can find peace in the present moment without the burden of comparison dragging you down. At first glance, saying yes to too many things seems harmless. It's just one more task, one more event, one more favor. But when we consistently agree to do more than we can realistically handle, we end up spreading ourselves too thin, start juggling too many responsibilities, and eventually something falls through the cracks. We do this because we don't want to disappoint people or miss out on opportunities, but we rarely stop to consider the cost of this constant overcommitting, which leads to exhaustion, stress, and energy we have for the things that truly matter to us, whether it's spending quality time with loved ones, pursuing personal passions, or simply taking care of ourselves. One of the main reasons people overcommit is the fear of letting others down. We don't want to be seen as unreliable or selfish, so we agree to things even when we know we're already overwhelmed. But by doing this, we're not only setting ourselves up for failure, we're also setting false expectations for those around us. When people come to expect that we'll always say yes, they're more likely to ask for more of our time and energy, perpetuating the cycle of overcommitment in the end. This only increases our stress and anxiety as we struggle to keep up with demands that never seem to stop. What many people fail to realize is that saying no is not a sign of weakness or selfishness. In fact, it's one of the most powerful ways to protect your peace and maintain balance in your life. By setting boundaries and learning to say no when necessary, you're giving yourself the space. This just indicates that you prioritize your time and energy to ensure that you're not overcommitting yourself. Not that you quit volunteering or engaging in activities entirely. Overcommitting also directly affects our mental and physical health. When we're always rushing to finish tasks and meet deadlines, we put a great deal of strain on our bodies and minds. Chronic stress can result in burnout, which shows up as physical symptoms like headaches and exhaustion, as well as more serious health issues. Mentally, anxiety and depression can result from a persistent sense of overwhelm. Our peace and well-being are sacrificed when we overcommit. Another problem with overcommitment is that it keeps us from being completely present because we're rushing from one task to the next, dividing our attention and rarely giving anything our best effort. We might find ourselves sidetracked during crucial conversations, unable to concentrate on the task at hand, or just too exhausted into a haze of responsibilities, and we lose out on the variety of sensations that come from being totally involved and present. In order to live in peace, we must learn to prioritize quality over quantity. When we stop overcommitting, we free up time and space to be more intentional with our actions, which enables us to invest more deeply in our relationships, be more thoughtful in our work, and take better care of ourselves. This mental shift enables us to experience life more fully and peacefully. It's not about how many things we can cross off our to-do list, but rather how well we can engage with the things that truly matter to us. One of the most difficult aspects of kicking the habit of overcommitting is getting over the guilt that comes with saying no. We fear that people will think less of us or that we'll miss out on something significant, but it's important to keep in mind that saying no to one thing frequently means saying yes to another, whether it's your own relaxation, a worthwhile project, you're putting your own health first and making sure you can give your all for the things that really count. It's also critical to understand that people will respect you more when you set clear boundaries and refuse requests that you truly can't fulfill, because you're being honest with both yourself and the person making the request. Builds respect and trust. It's preferable to be honest about your boundaries rather than overcommitting and running the risk of disappointing others when you can't fulfill your commitments. The misconception that being busy equates to being successful or productive is another facet of overcommitment. Many of us take pride in being busy, believing that the busier our schedules are, the more productive we must be. However, business does not equate to productivity. In fact, overcommitting frequently results in doing many things poorly rather than a few things well. True success and fulfillment come from concentrating on the things that bring you joy and are in line. Learn how to create boundaries and prioritize your time rather than just occupying every hour of your day. Determine which of your existing commitments are actually important or necessary by first evaluating your current activities and duties. You don't have to give an explanation, so you can let go of your next practice of saying no in a polite but forceful manner. Beyond just saying, "I can't handle that right now," keep in mind your future obligations. Before accepting anything, ask yourself if it fits with your priorities, and if you have the time and energy to devote yourself fully. Living in peace demands that we take charge of our time and stop overcommitting. By learning to say no and establish boundaries, we can make the space necessary to support our well-being. Focusing on what really matters and living completely in the present moment allows us to avoid needless tension and pave the way for a more balanced, tranquil existence. Living in the past, wish we had done differently, or something that was done to us, holding on to the past keeps us stuck in a cycle of negative emotions that prevents us from fully engaging with the present and enjoying life as it unfolds. This is one of the biggest barriers to finding peace in the present, because many of us carry around memories of regrets, mistakes, and painful experiences that still affect how we live today. Reliving one's mistakes is a frequent way for people to become mired in the past. We all make bad decisions, say things we later regret, or pass up chances that could have changed our life. These regretful moments can linger in our memories and cause us to replay them repeatedly. We imagine how things would have turned out if we had chosen a different course and spoken the appropriate thing. But the truth is that no amount of reasoning can undo realize that making errors is a natural part of being human. Nobody ever goes through life without making poor choices or failing. The past cannot be changed, and the only thing we can do is how we choose to go. When we look at our mistakes through the lens of learning, we turn them from causes of suffering into sources of wisdom. The important thing is to perceive these times as chances for progress rather than as something to be ashamed of or stuck in. Every mistake gives us insight into the world and ourselves, and it is by these experiences that we develop the wisdom and fortitude to face obstacles in the future. Holding on to resentment or anger toward others is another way that people remain stuck in the past. When someone has wronged us, it can be very difficult to move on from the hurt. We keep thinking about the incident, which feeds feelings of anger, betrayal, or bitterness. However, although it's normal to feel hurt after being wronged, clinging to that pain only makes it punishes us. It keeps us tethered to negative emotions, draining our energy and clouding our outlook on life. The longer we hold on to grudges, the more they fester and the harder it becomes to find peace. Forgiveness is the antidote to this kind of pain. It's important to understand that forgiveness is not about condoning or excusing harmful behavior. Instead, it's about freeing yourself from the emotional burden that comes with holding on to anger and resentment. Forgiving someone doesn't mean that what they did was okay. It means that you are choosing to release the hold that the event has on you. By letting go of the anger, you create space for healing and peace to enter your life. Equally important as forgiving others as learning to forgive ourselves. Many of us are our own harshest critics, replaying our past mistakes and beating ourselves up for choices we made. But just as we need to show compassion to others, we must also show it to ourselves. Self-forgiveness is essential, for we must acknowledge that we are not flawless, that we are always changing, and that it's acceptable to make mistakes as long as we learn from them. By forgiving ourselves, we make space for development and personal change, which makes it simpler to live in the present. Nostalgia is another trap that keeps people mired in the past. Even though it's normal to look back on pleasant memories with nostalgia sometimes, nostalgia may turn into a harmful way to escape the present. We romanticize the good old days, thinking that things were easier or better in those days, but this can keep us from enjoying the positive aspects of our lives today. We lose out on the beauty and potential that the present has to give when we spend too much time yearning for the past. To overcome the hold of the past, we must practice mindfulness and presence. The practice of mindfulness involves concentrating on the present moment and observing what is occurring with us, whether it be through meditation, deep breathing, or just being more aware of our surroundings. We teach ourselves to be completely present in life as it is occurring, rather than being sidetracked by thoughts of the past or anxieties about the future. Being mindful keeps us rooted in the here and now. One effective strategy to embrace the present is to change our perspective from what could have been to what can be. Rather than focusing on past mistakes or lost opportunities, we can concentrate on the possibilities that lie ahead. Every day presents a new opportunity to start over and make new decisions. We give ourselves access to new experiences, relationships, and growth opportunities when we let go of the past. By focusing on the future rather than the past, we empower ourselves to build a future that is consistent with our objectives and desires. Living in peace also entails realizing that the past is behind us and the future is uncertain, even though it's crucial to draw lessons from the past. The more we spend mired in the past, the more we lose out on the life that is occurring in front of us. We lose the opportunity to connect with the people we care about, to appreciate small pleasures, and to take in the richness of life as it unfolds. Letting go of the past allows us to live more fully, mindfully, and peacefully in the present. Overanalyzing is one of the most common ways we undermine our own mental health. Letting go of the past means accepting that we cannot change what has already happened, but we can choose how we respond to it. We can choose to carry the lessons from our past into the present without letting the weight of past mistakes or hurts drag us down. It begins innocently enough, a minor concern, a choice to make, or an incident that didn't go as planned, but quickly those thoughts spiral out of control, and before we know it, we've created whole scenarios, imagining every event, conversations, or experiences in our imaginations. Overanalyzing can make even the most straightforward decisions seem daunting and amplify issues that are actually minor or unimportant. It keeps us caught in a vicious loop of worry, tension, and indecision, making it difficult to achieve calm. One of the main problems with overthinking is that it frequently results from a desire to control situations that are actually beyond our control. We want to predict every outcome, avoid every mistake, and ensure that we're always making the right choice. But life doesn't work that way. No matter how much we plan or analyze, there will always be factors outside of our control. When we overthink, we're trying to eliminate uncertainty, which is an inevitable part of life. This leads to a constant state of tension because we're chasing an impossible goal. Another reason people overthink is fear of failing, fear of being judged, or fear of making the wrong choice. We believe that if we discover the ideal solution, if we give a situation enough time, but overanalyzing rarely results in clarity. On the contrary, it frequently has the opposite effect. The more we think about a choice or issue, the more perplexed and uncertain we feel. Rather than gaining insight, we become paralyzed by all the possibilities and are unable to proceed because of this fear-driven overanalyzing keeps us from acting and keeps us mired in a cycle of indecision. Additionally, overthinking prevents us from being in the moment. When our minds are preoccupied with reliving the past or worrying about the future, we fail to notice what is happening in the present. Even though we may be physically present, our minds are elsewhere, consumed by our thoughts. This impacts not only our personal well-being, but also our relationships and experiences. Life goes past while we're engrossed in our thoughts, missing out on the richness of the present moment. And we're not completely involved with the people or activities around us when we're overthinking. Another significant issue is that it frequently intensifies unpleasant feelings and thoughts. When we become obsessed with a certain issue or worry, we often imagine the worst case situations. Even though these hypothetical scenarios are frequently far from reality, our minds start to create stories about what might happen, and we start to catastrophize. What if I failed? What if people think less of me? What if things don't turn out the way I want? Over time, this type of thinking becomes habitual, making us expect the worst in every situation, which only increases our stress and makes it harder to find peace, which is the key to realizing that not every thought needs your undivided attention or examination is the first step in ending the overthinking cycle. Our minds are always coming up with ideas, but that doesn't imply we have to act on them all. Some ideas are essential and helpful. By engaging in mindfulness exercises and increasing our awareness of our thought patterns, we can begin to differentiate between those that are merely noise distractions that send us down a path of constructive and destructive thoughts, enables us to decide which to focus on and which to ignore. Staying in the current moment is a useful technique for controlling overthinking. When you notice yourself getting into a loop of overthinking, stop and return your focus to the present. What are you doing at the moment? What do you see or feel? By reminding you that everything is okay right now and that the past is behind you, grounding yourself in the present might help you break the pattern of overanalyzing and restore your composure. The only thing you can control is what you do now. The future hasn't arrived yet. Taking action is another strategy to counteract overthinking. Overthinking is frequently caused by a fear of making the wrong option, but in practice, Doing nothing is frequently more detrimental than choosing a course of action and going forward. When we overthink, we become paralyzed by analysis and keep repeating the same ideas in our minds without dealing with overthinking, because many of us are harsh critics of ourselves, which only feeds the cycle of overanalyzing. We believe we need to be perfect or have all the answers, and when we don't, we judge ourselves harshly, which only adds to the pressure we feel and makes it harder to find peace. By taking even small steps toward solving a problem or making a decision, we break the cycle of overthinking and start to regain a sense of control. Action creates momentum, and momentum helps to quiet the mind. Setting time limits for thinking about certain issues is another useful strategy that helps us practice self-compassion by calming the inner critic that fuels overthinking and enabling us to approach life with greater kindness and understanding. Give yourself a specific length of time to think about a situation or issue, and then when that time is passed, make a decision. The endless rumination that often accompanies overthinking, by setting boundaries around how much time you'll spend thinking about a particular issue, you give yourself permission to stop overanalyzing and take action. It also reduces the mental fatigue that comes from constantly turning things over in your mind. Letting go of the need to overthink everything doesn't mean you stop caring or stop being thoughtful. It simply means you give yourself permission to let go of the things you can't control and trust that you can handle whatever comes your way by quieting the mind and focusing on the present moment. You create space for peace to enter your life. You allow yourself to move through life of more ease, more clarity, and less stress. Overthinking keeps us stuck in a loop of worry, but by learning to let go, we free ourselves to live more peacefully, fully engaged with the present. Being constantly concerned about what other people think of us as one of the most powerful barriers to inner peace. Many of us spend to influence other people's opinions in an attempt to gain validation or to avoid criticism. This need for approval can manifest itself in a variety of ways, such as changing our behavior to conform to how we're seen or refraining from doing particular things out of concern for criticism. Living this way can be draining because we are effectively handing over our happiness and sense of value to outside forces that we cannot control. In order to live in peace, we must learn to let go of the influence that other people's opinions have over us and turn our attention inward, valuing our own feelings and thoughts over those of others. The desire for acceptance is often the root cause of worrying about what other people think. As social creatures, humans have an innate need to feel like they belong and to be liked, admired, and respected by others. This becomes problematic when our sense of worth becomes reliant on other people's approval rather than acting in accordance with our own values with social conventions, which cause us to lose our authenticity. When we make decisions based on what other people think, we end up living a life that isn't entirely our own. We may pursue careers, relationships, or habits that are deemed acceptable or desirable by society or those around us, but when we live this way, we're not being true to ourselves, and that disconnect creates a deep sense of dissatisfaction. Over time, this causes feelings of frustration, as the things that bring us joy or fulfillment are pushed aside in favor of what will please others. Bitterness or even exhaustion from living for other people. Approval deprives us of our uniqueness and keeps us from pursuing our goals. Another issue with worrying about what other people think all the time is that no matter how hard we try, we cannot influence how they see us. People's personal experiences influence their opinions, prejudices. Focus too much on what other people think. We create unnecessary stress and anxiety. Every action becomes a performance, and we constantly wonder what people will think. This hyper-awareness of other people's opinions makes it difficult to relax or enjoy life because we're constantly second-guessing ourselves or worrying about potential judgment. Trying to manage or change that as a losing battle can require us to spend hours crafting the perfect image or carefully wording our actions and statements, only to find that someone still misinterprets or criticizes us. This realization can be liberating if we allow it to be. Social media, for instance, exacerbates this tendency by giving people a place to share their thoughts and lives for ongoing scrutiny. A never-ending cycle of comparing, anxiety, and stress in search of tranquility might result from the need to project a flawless image or to adhere to specific standards. And self-acceptance is a crucial step in overcoming this need for external validation. When we are confident in who we are, we become less dependent on other people to validate our value. We must let go of this relentless pursuit of approval from others and allow ourselves to live without the constant need to be liked or accepted by everyone. When you have a strong sense of self, other people's opinions no longer have the power to control you, and you can move through life with more freedom and peace. Self-confidence is the result of knowing and accepting your own strengths and weaknesses and realizing that your value is independent of how other people see you. It's about trusting yourself to make decisions that are in line with your values, regardless of whether those choices are popular or accepted by others. Understanding that you are not perfect, and that's okay, is another aspect of self-acceptance. Many of us worry about what other people think of us because we want to be flawless, or perfection is unreal and unachievable. When you can accept your own imperfections and realize that they are a normal part of being human, you release yourself from the pressure to live up to unrealistic expectations and enable yourself to be vulnerable and authentic, both of which are necessary for meaningful connections and personal development. Realizing that other people's opinions are frequently more about them than about you is another crucial component in letting go of them. People's responses to you are influenced by their own experiences, fears, and values. For example, if someone criticizes your personal or professional choice, they may be projecting their own limitations or fears on you. Once you understand that other people's opinions are subjective expressions of their own worldview rather than an objective assessment of your value, it becomes easier to let go of their judgments. Letting go of your worry of other people's perceptions does not imply or totally ignore criticism. Healthy relationships include consideration for others and constructive criticism, but it's crucial to distinguish between constructive criticism and needless condemnation. Constructive criticism originates from a caring environment and can assist in personal development, but unwarranted judgment is frequently the result of negativity or misinterpretation. By learning to distinguish between the two, you may maintain your openness to progress while simultaneously safeguarding your tranquility and sense of self to stop caring about other people. Viewpoints. Practice concentrating on what is most important to you. What are your values, goals, and priorities? What kind of life do you want to lead? When you know what is most important to you, other people's opinions become less significant, and you start making decisions based on your own desires and values instead of trying to win others' approval. This change in perspective enables you to live a more genuine, taking back control of your life from other people's opinions and choosing to live in accordance with your own truth. When you let go of the need for approval from others, you make room for genuine contentment and self-acceptance. Peace doesn't come from external validation or the perfection of circumstances. Rather, it comes from within when you align your life with your own values. In conclusion, living peacefully requires a conscious effort to let go of habits and mindsets that cause inner turmoil. This includes letting go of the need to control everything, avoiding the traps of overthinking, and detaching from the opinions of others. Doing so allows you to cultivate a more centered and fulfilling life, accepting the present and engaging in self-compassion exercises. The path to peace starts when we let go of things that don't benefit us, have faith in ourselves, and decide to live a genuine and purposeful life. The ability to live in peace is within our grasp. It begins with the things we give up today.